Welcome back, Ardok here with episode 2 of the complete Wurm Unlimited modding guide. Today we are going to talk a little bit about GitHub and to save your work basically, and also enabling you working I guess in multiple locations. So like if you work at home and you have a little bit of downtime at work and want to look at your mod there, so you can work in different locations and still keep the code up to date on any location. And also we will today create the actual item, the ice cube item, and yeah, take a look at it in game. And since creating an item is a fairly quick process, I guess, in modding, I'll also go a little bit in depth about all the options you can have on an item. So yeah, let's just see where this goes. Okay, so I have installed GitHub Desktop. Of course, there is multiple file synchronization services, I guess. You could also use Google Drive or Dropbox or Microsoft OneDrive. But yeah, these all involve some form of company then basically having access to your code. Since most Wurm mods are open source, shouldn't be a problem. But you could also upload to GitLab. GitLab does not have a nice desktop application yet, so yeah, remains to be seen. You can access GitLab with GitHub, but it's a little bit non-intuitive, I'd say. So for this time, we are just going to use GitHub to synchronize our files, just so you have seen it once and are familiar with the processes. Okay, all right, so what we are going to do is here create a new repository. And here it is important to select only the main folder where you want to put it, because the name of the repository will then be added to that path. So we call it ice cube because that is the folder that already exists. And this is a cold object to cool you down. Just a little description. You can also select some file types for git ignore or a open source license. And that is it. All right. And then you could just say publish repository. And now you can decide if you want to keep your code private and only you can access it, or people that you have selected that can access it in the web interface of GitHub, or if you untick it, your code will become publicly available, which is fine for this mod. It's always nice to have public available mods, so one can look, how did the modder do this one, or how did they go about a certain thing that you want to look up and put in your own mod. So always try to keep giving back to the community here. All right, once you published your repository, you can also view it on GitHub. And then there you see it uploaded these folders. So this is our package basically, and this is our little Java file that you might recognize. So basically you have always the current snapshot basically up there on the GitHub. But it also uploaded the idea directory, which is basically your local IntelliJ folder. So you might set up your IntelliJ other or differently than you do it at home when you're somewhere around. So like on my laptop, I have it set up differently. So it's not commonly a good idea to keep the idea directory and the icecube IML file in the GitHub, because, for example, we added libraries to our project. And on this PC, they are at the drive F in this directory, but on my working PC, on my other location, they could be on C or something like that, and then it cannot find the libraries anymore because that got synchronized with GitHub. So be mindful of that. So what we can do to alleviate that is just we go to this file, hit the 3 dots and say, okay, delete this file and commit the changes. And this is then already directly changed. And then we go to the folder, the IDA folder, and say delete directory, commit changes. Okay, and then that's deleted from our repository. And now if we go back to GitHub Desktop here, we can also fetch. And then we can pull because there was 2 changes. All right. And now you can see, so this was the synchronization process, this not automatically. We have now 2 changes on our local PC that are not present on the GitHub, which is the IDA folder with the workspace XML, which is your folder setup, and apparently the vcs.xml, which is also a changed file. So what we are going to do now is we're going to say, we're going to ignore this folder.ida. And then you see, the changes disappeared, but we updated our git ignore file. So you can just commit that and push. And now this is on your repository. And if you check it on the web interface and look at the git ignore, then you can already see there are some files already present, and it will just add to the bottom. So this is the folder idea, and anything that happens in that folder will be ignored. Same goes for the folder out, where it probably where you will find your classes, your compiler output. And as you can see, there is no folder out here in our repository because it initially already ignored it. Okay. So yeah, using GitHub Desktop, you can also, if you have IntelliJ installed before installing GitHub Desktop, or maybe you have to, on the first opening of GitHub Desktop, have to point it to your IntelliJ, but you can always open your repositories with IntelliJ from the GitHub Desktop. So that is nice. Okay, so because we pushed here a little bit, now there is some confusion about what this project will be, because of the .ida folder and like we pushed. So the files are all still there, but now IntelliJ is a little bit confused because you notice the message, there was a GitHub notification, or I know that this is a GitHub project, what can I do? So we're gonna go File, Project Structure, and then we say Project, and you see here it forgot about the SDK. So this was 1.8, version 8, do that. We have a module, which was basically the folder itself. So this is, you see here, the module will be created in GitHub IceCube. This is where we are. Yep. And then you hit apply and OK. And then you can already see, now we have the idea, the out, and the source folder here, and also the IceCube IML. And now we only have a problem here with our imports, basically. And we just go back here, go to libraries and add them again. So as you can see, adding the project to GitHub after starting it will cause a little bit of some cock up here, but as you already know how it works, that's fine. And next time you can, if you want to, you can just start a project with GitHub and then just set everything up the other way around. Also, we lost the artifacts here. So these files or these setups were probably stored in the .iml file that that we removed from the repository, and when we refreshed it, tried to keep our desktop in sync and then remove that file. So if we would have backed up the IML file, this wouldn't have happened. So yeah. But maybe this is a nice way to practice. you All right, so I have reset up everything. You can see here the IML file has some contents, but I'm not too sure what changed here. But you can already check back with your GitHub desktop, and now you see here, there is this IceCube IML file. So yeah, but we are going to ignore this, all IML files, and then just update our git ignore. So this is a little bit working with GitHub. Get GitHub to know what files you want, what files you don't want, and after a few rounds of going back and forth, making clear this to GitHub what you like, it will work. Of course, you can always just like put all your files onto a thumb drive and carry them with you. But I kind of like it that way as well. Okay, so for items, we just gonna make a new Java class here, and we call that IceCube item. And now that IntelliJ knows, we are working with GitHub, it asks us, do you want to add the following file to Git, yes or no? And then we just say, yep, don't ask again, do it. And if we go back to our GitHub, you already can see here, we made changes. We added this slash here. And I also already know that there's an error. And we made this item. So you don't have to commit and update every change you make. You can do it at the end of your session. But it's early in the morning here, so this was not a chat command. This was a chat command. Sorry. Okay, going back to the IceCube item here. In Wurm, an item has different properties that are important to locating it. So as you might already know, if you use the admin tool or the GM one on your server, then everything in Wurm has an ID. So an item also needs an ID, but you can give an apple the ID 1, but then, you know, every apple has a different ID still, right? So it has to be unique. But the apple has like a template, or imagine it like a stamp. Like if you put one green apple, summon one green apple, and then summon another green apple, they come from the same mold or from the same template. And this is what we are going to do. We are going to make an item template, which the game later can use as stamp to put down our ice cubes. So we need to create a public static item template. And IntelliJ says, hey, whoa, what the fuck is that? What is item template? And you can hover over it, and then you can say, yep, import that. And then you can see, okay, you can import from com Wurm Online server items. So that sounds correct. And then this is the ice cube. Okay. So this will be our mold or template, and this template will need a number we can assign to it. So we say public static int for integer, and this will be the ice cube ID, right? So this is the two things that we will need. We don't put any values in there yet. We just keep them here so they exist in the code. All right, so now we have to make a function, or in the class context, it's called a method, which will tell the game, hey, this is an ice cube and this is what it does. So we are going to do a method, public static void register ice cube, doesn't take any parameters. Make a little bit of room here. And then in here, we will tell the game what our item is and how it looks and how it should be handled by the game. So yeah, this is ice cube. So our template, you can already see IntelliJ is making that suggestion, is coming from a new item template builder, which is a library from the mod launcher. And in here we will have, yeah, you can keep it on one line, but in here we will get the basics of the item down. So we will need an identifier. So basically a unique string of text, not a number, a unique string of text that will later be used by the game to look up the item template, for example. And you can do it like this, that you do your modder name, oh, and don't forget the string, your modder name, the name of the mod, and what it is. So in this case, again, ice cube. All right, so this is the identifier. Then we can go next line, and now we will use name. And this will be an ice cube, I guess. I think items in Wurm are a lower capital letter at front. I'm not too sure, but it's your choice. But we are not done here. You see here, we will need a name, a plural, and a description. So we need a comma, and now it suggests, okay, now we need a plural. So that will be ice cubes. So basically, if you have more than a carrot in your inventory, it will say carrots at top of the stack, basically, where you can click the little plus sign to open and close. And this is then the name for that. And a description. So here you can already tell your players what the item will do. So let's say, don't want to be too obvious here. burned parts of your body, because this is the functionality that I initially want to put in there, that the object can heal burn wounds. Okay, so as you can see, it will always go ahead and then make red squiggly line here, because we didn't finish anything here. So at the end of your item template builder, you have to just put build and then put a semicolon here, and then that part goes away. And if we hover here, it says unhandled exception, Java IO exception. So there are some things you can do. If you go more actions, you can surround it with try and catch, and it shows you like this. So this is the preview. So then there's a try and here's a catch, but this looks a little bit ugly. So what I'm going to do is the other thing. I'm going to add the exception to the method signature. So I'm going to say, hey, this method could potentially throw this exception, which is kind of an error. And then it will get handled somewhere else. So what could happen here is that there is a miscommunication between the game and the mod, and then this will throw an exception like an error in the server log. Okay, so technically the item is done now, but there is way more to Wurm items, as you know. But you can always go one line down and add something, and we are going to go through a couple of these. So you just put dot, and then you can see there is a whole list of things that you can add here. But for a standard item, we will need some model name as next thing, because, well, if it doesn't have a model, how are we going to see it, right? So again, I put here model, name of the mod, name of the model. And here it is very important to put a dot in here, because that will save you a lot of headache later. Basically, how Wurm works is it works along the path from right to left for models, and this will assure that it will stop at least here. Otherwise, if it doesn't find this model, it will go to if it doesn't find this model, it will go back to the previous, so model ice cube, and there's no model for that, and then we'll go back to model. So it will show the bag, the missing model item bag. I don't know if you already saw it. I will probably pop it into the window so you can take a look. But yeah, this is important here because we will need this path or this description later in the mappings.txt, which will be a file that we are going to create later, which tells the game where to find the model. All right, so we got a model name. Now we need an image number. So the image number will be the icon that is in your inventory space. So as it says here, it needs a short, and then we do icon constants, and then you can search here for an icon that you like. So this is if you don't want to make a custom icon or something like that, which we might do in a later episode or in an extra optional episode, then you can use some other mod called icons from Yoda to create your own icon, and this can be fun, but for the time being, what is the ice cube? I think the ice cube looks a little bit like the Wallrai item. Artifact Wallrai. It's not quite a cube. I think it's a icosahedra or something like that. But it shall suffice. So why do I put this short in here? Because this constant here, as you can see, is a integer, but image number wants a short. So if I delete that, it gets squiggly line, and it will say, hey, image number short cannot be applied to int. So we cast it to short, because short and int are about the same. They just don't have the same max value. All right, and the other important thing will be item types. And here you see this needs a short with a square bracket, which means a collection of shorts. And we're just going to say, okay, we will make a new collection of shorts, no problem. And then we open it up. And here we should now put numbers, because you know short is integer. But you already know, and this is nice about Wurm, because this comes directly from com Wurm Online shared. So from the base game, it has some already installed lookup tables you can use. And just like icon constants, there is item types. And if we could put dot here, you can see here, like this is if the ice cube a bed, then you can use it to sleep on. And this has the number 110, but you can also just put item type bed and a comma, since it's a collection. And I made a little mistake here. So like this. All right, so of course our item is not a bed, but you have to get a feeling for what you want your item to be. And now would maybe be a good time to start think about looking at how the base game does it. So maybe a little side quest, taking a look at the base game. So we are going to use jd-gui, which is a Java decompiler, which is best used for looking at stuff. You can also save sources there and decompile stuff, but it makes kind of a lot of errors. So it's not the best decompiler to decompile things, but to look at stuff, it's actually pretty okay. And we just go ahead and navigate to where your Wurm server is. So there. And then we look at the server.jar. And now you can see here, lots of files, but we don't need that. We go to com, Wurm Online, server. And if you scroll down a little bit, there's also shared constants. And you can see here's the icon constants that we are been using at the time. But you won't find the item types in here, because those are somewhere else. Those are in items and then item types. But nonetheless, it's still there. It's a little bit untidy, but the devs had their reason, I guess, to put stuff somewhere. But there, it's there. You just need to find it, and that is basically the difficulty in Wurm modding. Okay, so already we have here item template creator, and here you can see they basically have a similar system to create the item like we do, but it is all on one line. But still, it's better than nothing. So let's look at the rope or so. So first, it needs the item ID. We don't need the item ID up front. We will make it later. And here you can see it's a name, a plural, and then you can also do quality settings. So if you go back to your code, and if you add more stuff to it here, Okay. So in making the item here, you can put descriptions, and then you have the item description: superb, normal, bad, and rotten. So this is for the quality or damage settings. So again, already, I've learned something too here. I thought this was with name, but it was descriptions. Um, but this is this here, and you can get this with dot descriptions. So what I did to find that out was I pushed Control and then clicked on the dot name, and it brought me to ItemTemplate Builder from the mod launcher. And here in name, it only has the names, but further down, it has the descriptions. And if you didn't know where anything was, you can see here, excellent, good, okay, poor, or so. And here it says the word superb. So you could basically look for these hard words. So bad or rotten. So yeah, modding is a lot of finding, and it's that detective work. So yeah, if you want to trace anything or know where it come from, you go hit Control and then left click, and then IntelliJ will put the cursor wherever this item is being made. And the other way around, if I Control left click here, it will put the cursor to where it finds the item. And if there's more places, it will make a little pop-up and you can look at it. So a little bit navigation there. For our ice cube, we could make these descriptions, imagine when using it, it gets damaged, and then when it gets damaged, it like melts, and then you could put like words like, oh, okay, it's fine, it's getting wet, it's getting tiny, it's just a puddle is left or something like that. So yeah, just let's do that. Let's go from a Wurm item template and just create our own like one-to-one setting. Keep in mind though, not every item in Wurm has these quality descriptions. It's mostly food items, so obviously rope is not a food item, but yeah, you don't find these descriptions on a sword. So this is then excellent. Still cold. Melting. Cold puddle or so. And this will be our descriptions for the quality. All right, then back on track. We will have here a coarse rope made from bamboo fiber, so this is got to be the description. And then you have here new short, and this are going to be the item types. Okay, so I'm gonna go here and make a secondary window for you, and I'll also get away with this. And I'm gonna go to item types here. Same as here, I could click here, but I can only have tabs here, not two windows. And now let's just look at the item types the rope has. So 46 would be a combined item, which is true. A rope can be combined to a longer or heavier rope. So that's that. Might be actually could make sense for an ice cube. Can stick two ice cubes together. Anyway, type 64 lead creature. So yeah, if you use a rope, you can lead a creature with it. I wouldn't use that for the ice cube, but it's your world. 147 mission. So the item could appear on a deity mission. Hey, make foe 6 ropes. So now this would, hey, make foe 6 ice cubes. Item type bulk. So this could be stored in a bulk storage bin. I don't know. I would like the ice cubes not being storable as in bulk, because that doesn't make sense. Maybe in a certain object like an ice cube hut or something, that could be a new item that we make. And challenge newbie. Okay, so for it's a newbie challenge item. But as you might notice, looking at these item types, most of them already make sense by the name. So good on the developers that they make sensible names here. So see here, key, no drop, that means you couldn't drop the item, fish, weapon, and all of those. So these are the item types a rope had. Good thing I marked it, I just lost that. And short 621, this is the image number here. So we go back to the image number. We can go to icon constants and look for 621. There it is, Wurm probe. So yeah, this is, we were here in this line. This is up to here. I'm going to put the cursor here. Okay. And just so it might also be sorted like in Wurm, I'm going to put the image number below the item. Well, thank you. Below the item types here. Just so it's the same as in Wurm. Okay, for item types, we just do it generally. So looking at the rope wasn't too fruitful because it is a very common item. But I don't want it to be bulk, so I don't use the item type bulk. But common item types, just to show you a few, is named. So that means you can rename it, or actually and then I'll just copy this line. Whoa, I don't know what's up with my copy pasting today. Then you have turnable, so that means you can rotate and move it. Now, owner movable, for example, only lets the owner move it, but you can also do plantable. That means you can plant it to the ground, like secure lamps or something like that. Other common item types would be no take. That would mean you could not pick up this item. And no put, which means you cannot put it into a container. There's also no trade. So no has a nice, you see here, no improve, no bank, no drop, no mission. So there's a couple of options with no that can be helpful. For this time, I want to do decoration, because decoration is a nice type. Decoration makes it so that when the item is placed on the ground and you place 3 more items, like for a pumpkin, they will get piled up in a pile of pumpkin. But if you make item type decoration, then the item won't get sorted into an item pile and will always stay on its own on the ground. Even other items around could be made into a pile, but this item will still stay on the ground. So yeah, these are the item types I would use for the ice cube, named not necessarily needed here, but maybe there is a player that really likes their ice cube and then they can name it. Okay, moving on. This is a little finicky here. So there's another short 1, and then we have a 0, and then we have a number with a L, and this is what we are going to talk about right now. So the next number, next short, is the behavior type. Don't know really what this does, but most of the game just uses a 1, and also need to cast that to short. So most items have the behavior type 1, and there is also 0, and I already saw 2. But for normal items that are not used in any other way than the item itself, or for crafting or whatever, the behavior type 1 will be the one that you can use. If you notice something during testing that is not adding up, then you might as well just take a look at the item type, maybe find a similar item from in-game here from the ItemTemplate creator files, and then take a look what behavior type they used. Are we still in a rope? Yep. Okay. This 0, I don't really know what that is used for, but I'm gonna skip this. You could technically, or we could later look at the create item template and look at the arguments and see, but for the time being, I'm gonna skip this. The next weird number, this is your decay time. So a decay time in milliseconds, right? So let's take the number from the game. So this is the time in milliseconds, so we divide it by 1,000. So this is the time in seconds, and now we divide it by 3,600. So every 2.52 hours, a rope would get a decay tick, which could be good. For ice cube, probably smelting faster. For an ice cube, it's probably melting faster, so I would want like an hour. So I know that's 3,600, and then need to multiply it by 1,000. So you could do some weird things like this. 3,600, multiply it by 1,000. And then that would still be the same, right? I could also write this in number. But then you can have your hours, your seconds here, and then times 1,000, because it's in milliseconds. So seconds times 1,000. Item will get a damage tick after this time. So comments being pretty long, but I guess this is good. So I already made like a little bit of mistake. Normally you would comment your code, but in IntelliJ, let me maximize this. The code is already good enough to tell you what it does. And here for decay time, I found it important to me to understand how that works, so I made that comment. So you can always make your own comments here in code. So you could also comment out this, which would be then the icon in the inventory, right? So always comment your code. Okay, so that was the decay time, and then we have another 1 and a 10 and a 20. So 3 more numbers, and these numbers are the dimensions. So dimensions, and again, IntelliJ tells you what are the dimensions of this item. Since it's a cube, let's say, what would be a good ice cube in your pocket? So I'm just looking at my hand here right now. And I think I'm going to do it 5 by 5 by 5. This has nothing to do with the model. The model will always be the same size. And from video 0, you might know that our model is pretty big. So maybe we could make it smaller in Blender to actually update the size. What this actually does here is important for if you want to put it in your item in a chest or something like that, because there is a item type hollow, and this item type basically marks items that have an inventory, like a chest or a barrel or a bulk storage bin. And a chest, let's take a small chest, has a volume that can be filled up. So if I put here item type hollow, then I would have a volume of 5 by 5 by 5, so 125 cubic centimeters that could be filled by items, because most containers don't have an item limit except crates, because they don't go by volume, they go by item number, which is nice. But normally, yeah, you have a volume that you can fill. So like imagine you try to put a log into a small chest, that wouldn't work, right? Or you put let's say a scythe into a small chest, then the game tells you the item is too large, it wouldn't fit. But if you put a scythe into a large chest, that works, because the outer dimensions of the large chest are larger than the dimensions of the item scythe. So this is what that does. So you can give it realistic numbers, but you can also put here 0, 0, 0, and then you would fit infinite amount of these items in any container, right? Or you can make 1, 1, 1, then it would have a volume of 1. These have to be whole numbers, so you cannot make a volume of 1.01 to give it like small tweaks. If you want to have the item a volume of 2, you basically just have to do 1, 1, 2. Then it would have a volume of 2, right? So this does not have to mirror your model at all, but I try when I mod to keep that in mind and make a model that fits, and I then tend to still use realistic values. For most of the time it will fit, because like a log has a very large volume and you can still could put it in a BSB. But with mods there's also the bag of holding or the enlargement rune. So dimensions of inventories can also be extended, so don't worry too much about it, I guess. But yeah, this is dimensions. So volume of the item, which it will fill up inside a container. And let's not forget to remove the hollow again. Okay, so this is are the dimensions. Then here we have the body places the item can be put on. So like if it's a piece of cloth, no, not a piece of cloth, a piece of cloth armor, then here you could already define that you can only wear it on breast or something like that. But in our case, we can just skip that. Here they have the model, so that comes a little bit later. And since we want to mirror that, I'm gonna put that down here, just so. Just so we are mirroring the Wurm item template builder there. All right, then we have a float here, and we have another 500, another 33, and another 1000. So one of them I know, and a true or false. One of them is the verb. So you can put and the Boolean might be is traded. So if you can give it to a trader. So this is the value. So I don't know. I'm gonna give it the value of 500. This is the worth in iron coins, right? So if you give an ice cube to a trader, he will give you 500 iron coins, so 5 copper for it. Maybe 100 is better, or maybe even only 10. I'm not too sure about how much an ice cube should cost. And the other number of the item could be the difficulty, because items have difficulty values. So how to make an ice cube, I think it's not too difficult. So yeah, this is the item template builder that we used here. So if it has a value, it should probably also be traded. So we can set that to true. Don't need that. So yeah, let's just look at how the game does it. So this is now gonna be a little bit weird. But we're gonna click here. And then we will get here the description of that item template creation. So if we have string name, plural, description, item types, image number, behavior type. Aha, that was a combat-based damage. So yeah, in Wurm you can also use sticks and logs to hit other people, I guess. So everything has a combat damage. But you can just leave that out. If it's not a weapon, it will still have a base damage value assigned to it. The decay time, centimeters XYZ. Aha, primary skill. Okay, so when the item is used, which is the primary skill to take the values from when it comes to calculate like success or also combat damage. So like for example, with farming, then if it's a rake, it could use the primary skill farming. Then we have the body spaces thingy with where it's at empty array, and then the model name. Aha, so after the model name comes the difficulty. So we have that. After the difficulty, yeah, we got the weight in grams. Maybe that should be important, right? So after the difficulty, we have the weight in grams. Yeah, that is important. I agree. So how much should a 5 by 5 by 5 centimeter ice cube weigh? It's water, right? So 125 gram. I want to make these semicolons, but you don't have to. Okay, so that is the weight in grams. Yep, forgot about that. After that, you can assign a standard material. So for example, every metal item by standard has the iron material, but it will get assigned a material on crafting. But you can put it here as well. So we can say here material. So again, material utilities, I think, was it? Yep. So this is the constants for material utilities. Should it be crystal? That would be funny. I think there's no ice or water. Oh, there is water. Okay, so it is material water. Since we are talking about water, if you want your item be a fluid, there is an item type for that. Liquid, right? So there are the liquid types. So liquid is just going into barrels, and cooking, you can use it for cooking, and drinkable is it will refill thirst like water would do. Okay, but this is material water. Okay. Okay, there we have the value, and then we have Boolean is purchased. So if a trader will actually be interested in it. So is traded actually was not the correct thing to put here. Material, water, value. So is purchased is probably the modloader version of is the modloader version of is purchased is probably is traded. Okay, so I didn't tell you crap. But this is just things that you have to toy around with. To be honest, I didn't use is traded yet in any mod, so I guess we can find that out. Okay, but basically this is and here you can see throws the IO exception. This is how the game builds an item. Of course, there are overloads of this. You can see here there is create item template, item template, multiple things. And you see some of them are longer, like die amount, grams override. Here we are not checking a value, so if you don't have a value, you don't need to put it. And that is everything that we did here as well. So you can omit most of this, I guess. You should have item types, but for the item to work, you just need an item and not even a model name. So just the item name. And then you can cut from there. But this is, again, probably the entirety of how the game does it. Let me just skim over it once more. The lower one was the longest. Yeah, we don't have the combat damage, but we can fill that in if we want to. So before the decay time, just so you have a complete item builder here. So combat damage, we do 1. Again, use your suggestions here. So here it already has a container size, so you can override the own dimensions. And then you have a food group. So there is in this item template builder from the mod launcher, there is a lot of stuff that you can actually add, and it will add to the game in a different point. But this here is the vanilla item template creator, I guess. And I just put here copied from a rope, right? So you could look at the barrel just for comparison's sake. Barrel there. So this is a barrel. And you see here it breaks a little bit. There's a line break here. But these are the item types. Oh, there's a lot of item types to barrel, I guess. Model container barrel large, and nothing for the container size override. But one of these item types is the item type hollow. And here, number 1, there it is. And this will then just use, as you can see here, 50 centimeters, and 1 meter, basically, is the internal volume of a barrel. Does that fit with the in-game model? This is C. Is the in-game barrel 50 centimeters wide and a meter tall? I don't know, right? But this is how it works. Okay, so I am content in a way here, since here we made a nice item template that you can basically work on and modify, and then from there you can just add other stuff that the mod launcher allows and just try it out. Most of the time when making a mod, you will find yourself probably first looking at a mod that is already out there, and then just look how the modder did it, and then you might also look at the game code with jd-gui just to see how that works. After the build instruction, we need to create a number for our item so the game knows which number this template has, basically the stamped number. And we're just gonna say, okay, ice cube ID equals ice cube dot get template ID. And then the game will make a new template ID for the ice cube, which will then get saved in the database. And from that day on, every ice cube has the same ID, which is neat. All right. So for today, one final thing, we want our item to be able to be crafted, right? So an ice cube is probably being made by cooling water, but Wurm has not really any functionality to cool stuff. In a later episode, we will add some functionality then that will allow us to make ice cubes from water, which I'll just put in here as a to-do because to-dos are neat. Add functionality that a larder can cool water to an ice cube. And maybe, I don't know if we can put containers with water inside a larder. So if that doesn't work, or make cooler machine. So that needs snowballs and water. So we can do that. So this is just ideas. To-dos are neat because IntelliJ keeps track of them for you. All right, so now we need to make a creation entry. So basically the item can now be summoned with an ebony wand, but we maybe want to craft it. And the game has some instructions for that. That is creation entry creator. Just to show here, create a simple entry is using the skill, item 1, item 2, and the resulting item, and some other parameters that we are going to look at. But there's also advanced creation entries like the oven. Then you have the skill, 2 starter items. It will create a unfinished oven with the item number 178. And also they add requirements here. So you can see requirement number 1. This is, was it a brick? And you need 10 bricks. And then requirement 2 will be clay, and you need 10 clay, right? So this is advanced crafting entries. I'm sure we will see an advanced crafting entry coming up in a later episode, but for time being, let's keep it simple. So we are going to do creation entry creator, create simple entry, and now it wants a skill that is used, or that will get a skill tick from our item. So here we can do, again, it needs a number, right? Int. But here we can again go to the skill list and just look at it and then use words. How convenient. So who would make a An ice cube. An alchemist, but you know that it's not hard freezing stuff, right? So I think I'm gonna do beverages here, but you can put whatever you want. You can also put toy making in here or something like that, or maybe first aid because it's gonna be a healing item, something like that. And so a object source, also number, but again we can use item list. Is a list of all items, and then we just use snowball and another item. So again, item list snowball. So 2 snowballs will make object created ice cube ID, the number of our ice cube. Okay, now it asks if we want to deplete the source, and yeah, we want that. And if we want to deplete the target, yes, we want that. If you put here false, then one of those items is not going to destroy it, like for example grindstone and wheat grains. Then if you grind them, the grindstone doesn't get damaged, right? Or for clay, for pottery, use clay and your hand, and that would be very bad if your hand would be damaged and actually destroyed or used up. Good times. A percentage lost is, for example, you have 20 kilograms of rock shards, but if you make a brick, you only get 17.5 kilogram of brick. So that is the percentage lost. You could calculate that because I don't know from the top of my head how heavy a snowball is. So let's say a snowball weighs 500 grams, then it will deplete equally from both of these snowballs, 62 grams, and you might end up with a snowball that's not quite used up, and then you have to throw it away or something like this. So here you have to see, you have to check, have to play around with it. So percentage lost, for the time being, I'm just gonna put 0. And then deplete equally means if it takes weight from both items. So again, otherwise it will take weight from the first item until it's used up, and then use weight from the other item. And in this case, we're gonna just use equal amounts of both snowballs, right? Create on ground. I'd say no, so false, which creates in our pocket. And then you could use the short version, but I'm going to show you, of course, the long version. A custom cutoff means since creation has a timer, you can say, there's a cutoff chance at this moment. So after 5 seconds, like when you fail with sticking stuff to a boat. And now it says minimum skill. So here you can lock it. So here you say a skill is beverages, and if we say minimum skill, then I would only be able to make a ice cube if I had at least 5 in beverages. So I'm going to put this to 1 so we can test it. Or maybe to do it at 5. All right, and a creation category. So this will be a category for your item to appear in the crafting helper. So I'll show you later. And I put it to creation categories, another lookup table, and it will be healing because it's going to be a healing item, right? And this is a very long instruction here, but this is basically your crafting entry. You could at any point you want just go after a comma here and just go into the next line. Depends on you, but this could also look ugly. So you have to decide how you want to structure your crafting entry. This looks half good. So maybe I'll cut off here, right? Because this is the item created, and then here we have the entire parameter stuff. But just so it's on one screen, for God's sake. All right. So this concludes then the register function of the ice cube, and now we just need to tell the game, hey, add this to your game, and then we are done. So we go back to our main class. By the way, I hide the folder structure here so you can navigate here, but it also keeps tabs where you are. And now we need on item templates created, because you could add your item template at any other point, but it should be added to the game when the other items have finished, so that way you know, okay, I'm not going to disturb vanilla item creation processes, like adding the IDs at some point and then the vanilla item has a different ID. So we are just going to add our stuff after the game is done with its vanilla items. And then we can just say ice cube item register ice cube. Now you say, it's quickly line, because we have this IO exception, remember? And now we can surround that with try and catch. So here we make some room. If you have more items, then we can here, and then we add some more items there. But you can also make an items class, so you don't have to make one class for every item. You can just have it like lots of items, like here in one of my projects. And then here you can see I wrote register functionalities for them, and then I put them all together in their own method. And this is what I call here. So I only have to call one and not one for every item. But the coding design choice, of course, is yours. Okay, in case this throws an error, it's always good to log, to write into the server log if anything happens. So this is the final thing I want to show you today before we check out if the item works. We are going to make a nice little logger. So this is going to be your best friend. So we're going to say public static final logger, and we call that logger. And here we just import the class, and we use Java util logging. And we say logger, get logger, and give it a name. It should have the name of your mod, to be honest. So this is the name. Okay. And just so you can see some options. So here we're gonna go logger log level info. So this is for like just status, and give it a message and say creating ice cube item. And at the end of it, you can also put a done creating ice cube item, right? So that is something you could do. But also, if there is an error, you don't want to just throw that error, crash the game, I don't know. You want to put a message here from your logger, and this time it's a warning. You can also put severe, but yeah. Something went wrong creating the item. And then you can just add get message, because the exception also has a message for you, and then also in the end put the exception there. If there is something like print stack trace or something like that, you can remove it if you log yourself. And it's more robust. So IntelliJ will also complain if it finds print stack trace. It will say should be replaced by better logging, or so. It's a yellow squiggly line then. Okay, so let's build our project. I need to check the artifacts again. Yep, I forgot to tick include in project build earlier. And then we're going to build. There's no output path, right? That is okay. Ice cube out. So don't forget your compiler output. And then we're going to build again. No error so far, and we also added it to our server directory. All right, and I guess then it's time to launch our server. All right, and let's look at our server log and see. So we can now look for, again, Ice Cube, I guess. Ta-da! Ice Cube, creating Ice Cube item, and the mod loader says, yeah, okay, there's a new item. You will get the number 22369 for this. And this is now the number of an Ice Cube. So technically you could put use the number 22369 in the Ice Cube item template here, but don't do it. And then we say, oh, okay, we're done. So our item should exist in the game. I am excited. Let's check it out. All right, standing in the middle of the desert. And I'm gonna make some snowballs. Snowball. And I'm gonna make 3 just to be sure, and a quality level of 99. And then there we have our 3 snowballs. And if you hit N, we can go into the crafting helper. And then we can look for Ice Cube. Okay. In healing, we have Ice Cube, which is made of snowball and snowball. Okay. So crafting window. Oh, a snowball only weighs 20 grams. Can we combine snowball? Ooh. That's not good. It won't work. Okay. So this is now not craftable because my beverage skill is not high enough. Okay. Not create. Special skills, learn. Beverages. And then I'll just give myself a level of 10. Okay. Crafting menu. Put new snowball, and now I have 73 chance to craft it. The chance to craft it and also how much skill you get is dependent on the difficulty, right? So more difficult means more skill. But then again, as you can see, for a beverage skill of 10, 73% of crafting chance already is pretty good, I'd say. Whoa. Oh. Okay. they don't weigh 10 grams, they weigh 0.1 kilograms, so they weigh 100 grams. Okay, so I'm gonna try here. Okay, that didn't work. But interestingly, there was no weight subtracted from our snowballs. Yeah, in a simple creation entry, if you fail, weight is not subtracted. Yeah, right. Okay, and now we have a ice cube here, which is weighing 0.12 kilograms. It's still 125 grams, so but the numbers just cut off. And this is also rounded, I guess. And now we have 2 useless snowballs here. So this is not quite elegant. But we will later add some functionality to actually make ice cubes from water, I guess. And now it says the snowball, and the snowball contains too little material to create an ice cube, which makes sense, right? Just not that the snowball is combinable. There's a mod that allows you to combine more items than the ones in vanilla, so you could add that functionality there. But here we would now have 2 not so useful snowballs, right? But we've got an ice cube, and now we can place it and drop it on the ground. And we don't have a model. So we need to check what's up with our ice cube model, but you can see it's model ice cube.water. But seeing that this episode is already about an hour long, I leave you hanging on a cliffhanger here, sorry. But we'll take care of getting the model into the game in the next episode. And in the next episode, I'll also show you how to add some functionality to it. So maybe next episode, we will already make our own action here, so we can heal burn wounds. So yeah, we have GitHub. Don't forget to commit and push. Before you are able to commit, you have to make a summary. So today we made the item template and crafting recipe, and we tested it, and it works. So that's the summary there. Okay, it's complaining that it's longer than 50 characters, but I don't care. So I'm gonna check my changes here. Not necessarily everything I did, but if there are files that we don't like the .xml files or the IDA files, something like that. But this is just Java, and this is okay. So we can commit and push. And now if we were on a different PC, we would just fetch and pull, and then all the files would be synchronized. And that is pretty neat. All right. I hope this episode wasn't too chaotic. Sorry, I shouldn't record early in the morning. If you have any questions, feel free to post a comment down below or join the Discord. I'll put the tools that I've used in the description. And then I'll see you next time when we are talking about custom actions and how to get your model that we made in episode 0 actually appear in the game. All right. So have a nice day, and I see you next episode. Bye bye.